Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Cookins, and Stuart, we've got a new ship. We've got a new ship.
We got an old, refitted, updated ship.
Stuart, we've got a new refit. We've got a new refit. Sort of.
Yes, in case you guys didn't know, Lower Decks is back. The Cerritos is back, and at the end of Season 1, it was getting repaired, and hopefully, we were hoping for some changes. We did get some small visual upgrades, but overall, the same ship.
Yes, it did get a visual update, and with all these things, I'm sure they spent their money quite wisely in Season 1, but it was we've seen even some of their one-off ships, like the Vulcan shuttle in Season 1, be very heavily detailed. So Cerritos itself always felt a little bit more cartoony, which is obviously it's a cartoon, but we've got some renders here, or some pictures here today comparing the two versions of the ship. I've done direct side-by-sides, which is because they have a tile sequence where you get to see lots of beauties, classic Trek, and they did just replace the ship model in the tile sequence, almost verbatim in the shots that were. So I can be very literal with the comparisons, so we can see what is different. And it is different. It is new. It is upgraded, with lots of small things. But first of all, did you notice much in the episode? Did it strike you as a refit, or is it somewhat news to you as being as different as it is?
No, I noticed quite a few things, small little things, and I had to actually go back and watch the intro again because that one close flyby, you see some lot more details and just panel details, simple stuff, and more escape pods. Maybe they figured that the Cerritos gets in trouble so often they need to make sure they can save the whole crew. I don't know, but we're going to talk about all those little changes. So yes, I did notice. And I was looking at first, when I first saw the intro, I was looking for something different. And it's so subtle that most people wouldn't notice. So that's why, like I said, I had to go back and rewind. That being said, there's some big changes too.
That's why Trekyards is here.
That's why we're here.
First image, though, the first time we see it. Does anything pop out to you?
Definitely the lighting. A lot of window detail on the Season 1. Season 2, there's still window detail, but it's toned down quite a bit, and it's just it feels more realistic. It feels more real, like real world, which I like. And obviously the secondary hull has some differences. At least with the lighting, you can see like there's more texturing and stuff going on. So
it stands out less, which makes it feel more real and blend in more. Something as simple as turning that more garish, bright yellow into a more... And I've textured and done a lot of ships at this point. One is a sort of a cartoon bright yellow, one is an integrated sort of RCS thruster yellow. Very small difference, but it does, help. And obviously, yes, the windows don't look as silly now. They almost don't stand out at all. I kind of wish they did just a little more light. Although it's just me, or is the windows are slightly smaller as well? Or maybe just because they're not as bright, they look less thick. But they look less thick to me.
They do look less thick, but yeah, it could just be the bloom. I don't think it is, but I think they're a little bit smaller.
So the ship feels much bigger now, because the windows blend in a lot more.
One thing I do want to say, if you haven't checked out the Star Trek blogs on Twitter, go do so. There's one by Captain Freeman, where she actually says, yeah, so they refitted my ship with some good improvements, but not so much that I can tell. By looking at it, I think it was really hilariously done, and so kudos to Mike McMahon for that kind of subtlety. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they wanted the same ship, just a bit, playing with it. It's definitely less different than I thought. Although they've got two things that thank goodness they fixed. Although other bits maybe not so much. So the second picture is a front view. Instantly, you can see something as simple as the Bassards, which there is physical detail on the Bassard in Season 1, but it's got blown out by the lighting. Because I had it modelled and there was detail there, but they've really refined that down, added a bit more detail, a bit more bumping, more differentiation in colour. So now they'd feel more like real elements rather than just boom, there's colour.
And again, the windows really stand out here a lot in Season 1 compared to the more realistic vibe we get in Season 2, and also the glow from the nacelles. On the saucer is a nice little touch.
One other thing that you can kind of see is that the bridge window, and yes, it's a bridge window, is now bright. Actually feels like a thing, which is somewhat a shame, but oh well.
Well, they doubled down on it being a window.
You saw it crack in Season 1. Great. Yeah. But there is now a new detail at the bottom. Maybe it's a forward torpedo launcher, as in where the quantums are. There is we'll go into torpedoes in a minute, but an actual new detail, my god. Oh, and one more thing I do like is the pylons actually have a proper structural bulk on the top, because we always said they felt a little bit weak, like just didn't quite work. These I think work a lot better. It's all just a bit more structurally, like someone did a once over just to kind of fix a few little key areas for canonness, and it's like boom, great, brilliant.
Structurally much more sound, and definitely look like they're engineered instead of just cartooned into the hull. So yes, I totally agree.
Next shot is an aft view.
Yeah, this is one of the first things that really stood out to me is the shuttle bay doors on left, or the port and starboard, whatever you want to call them. These ones actually have like the standard blue glow for the force fields, which were missing in season 1, all of season 1, which confused a lot of people as far as what the shuttle bays actually are. So I like that. That's one of the first things I noticed actually when it flew by.
And you can also see, hopefully, that there's slightly more detail in general. I think they pumped up the amount of actual rendered detail. One is more blurry, one is more crisp. I think they actually just did up it a little bit. Yeah, no, the shuttle bays, from all the context clues, it's clear that's where they thought they came out of. And when we talked to Mike ourselves, because it was not clear, we asked where they're from, and he said those pods. But in the show, there's a little indent, but there was never anything on them. Now, whenever I did a version of Cerritos, I always put doors there or put something, because they obviously are meant to be. So having those visible details, breaks up the shapes, and looks great. So I'm very happy.
And yeah, more detail on the bottom of the middle pod there. The engines, of course, ramped up detail, especially near the front. There's a lot of subtle things that when you have a side-by-side comparison, you can really notice. And like I said, I don't know if you guys have noticed it. A lot of people probably wouldn't for that opening, but thank God we're here. So now you get the side-by-side. So thank you, Samuel, for that.
They still haven't really added detail to that secondary pod. It's still somewhat vacant. But they have added escape pods and a phaser strip. So rather than just being a completely empty, boxy bottom bit, it has something. I kind of wish there was something else. The classic warp core ejection hatch style stuff in the yellow bit. Doesn't need much else, but at least it's got phasers there, which obviously we saw finally being used this season. Not that one in particular, but phasers now fully phasers because we've seeing them being used. And I'm sure when the script says, well, fire torpedoes, and they're like, oh no, we didn't actually add torpedoes to the design. They're like, scramble, scramble, there they are. It's like there's always a place maybe for them, but until you use them, you don't need to do a close-up. And so now there's like, well, when we have to have a phaser fight, well, now we need to put actual phasers on the damn ship. Like, more phasers anyway. But yeah, look, I think it definitely just looks better, the back view. It just feels more punchy. Oh, and even I was about to say, I'm sure it's the lighting, but it's the same lighting. Like, it's the same scene just a year later. Although the framing is slightly different in fairness, and in fact the scene's actually very different, but it's the same scene just rebuilt. The way the light hits that bottom outdent, the extruding area the shuttle bays connect to, in the original version, it's still hit by all the same light of the scene, and it just becomes purple, even though we know it's dark. Whereas in the new version, it's correctly dark. So I'm wondering if that was a render error, like they made the surface too reflective, because you can see how the pylons go into just hull, like side by side. Like I think they probably made an oopsie on the surface detail, because it should be. And now it feels like a big structural element where it's all kind of connected, and kind of like that's the backbone spine of it. So I really dig that, actually. It really pops now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got like that engineered skeletal framework.
Didn't come across in season 1 at all. So good job them.
And actually, when you're looking at this here from the back now, it looks like the saucer could almost like come out of that and separate from the main clamps and the warp nacelles. And
because that was definitely not clear from season 1, and maybe it is just a secondary hull set of stilts, and you can swap out saucers, and that's the saucer separation. Cool. There we just found the season 2 plotline. Next render though, or renders, is the side view. This one is easier to catch because it is literally the side.
The thing I noticed about this scene first time I watched it was the pulsing in the nacelles was more realistic and a little bit more dynamic. But yeah, I didn't really notice much of a difference. But here you can see the additional elements where the struts attach, brighter navigation lights, which aren't really navigation lights. They look like Christmas lights. Looks like they put a string of Christmas lights around it, because that's not what the red and green mean. It's port and starboard.
Yeah, they've kind of misunderstood the point of the confusing. Now, if they're all shuttle bays there, then okay, sure, be left and right shuttle bay side. But yeah, they've kind of misunderstood blinkies.
Yeah. The shuttle bays do look fantastic here. So do the impulse engines. A lot more detail, a lot more realistic, and just the front of those nacelles as well. Like, there's a lot of little subtle things that just add to the overall Wow.
Well, it's also just the texturing. The first one feels much flatter. They've added the right amount of reflective plate detailness, which existed on the Enterprise Z, etc. And it does just make it feel more substantial. That said, this view shows how the same it is. Yes, they may be a little bit more at structure on the pylon, but you can barely tell. The nacelles are almost identical, but they feel a bit more substantial. It's actually all the subtleties, etc. Like you said. Well, they've seemed to remove the pennants from the nacelles, which is a mistake. There should be pennants.
That's absolutely true. You're right.
But they have added warp grills to the warp engines rather than just being blue, which I really appreciate because, of course, there are warp grills. Which, in fact, we've done our own photoreal Cerritos for the Trekyards project, and we've actually added in most of these details before we even saw this version because obviously they should be there. It'd be fun to compare how when we did it versus they did it. But yeah, it's so the same but so a bit different.
This is the scene where I started, I really noticed that there was differences as we've get that next shot of it, the bridge module, and you can just see there's a subtle Aztecing, there's more panel details, and the registry looked a lot better. Why? Didn't know, but here you can see it's actually lit up as per the motion picture era kind of highlight registry.
Just to jump back, because you've obviously gone one forward. One thing to note on that back shot though is they've now removed all of the windows from the secondary hull engine unit, because it was odd to have that many windows that was so poorly scaled. That clearly isn't the scale of the decks. So they're all gone. Now it's just a functional area, which is what you'd expect from an engineering section. You wouldn't have windows out the sides. Small detail. I appreciate that. But yes, sorry. Then the next view, is the first real. And this obviously they're getting so close, and they even amp up the detail clearly in this one shot as well. My favourite bit of this, though, is we've now finally got torpedo launchers, where I said they were going to be, which was those top pods, which just were stuck on rectangle details. But yes, you can see, and you only can see when you freeze frame at the right moment, but there are actual Star Trek 2 TMP torpedo details sidewards, and a red little blinky too, similar to what the Voyager has, which their torpedo launcher has a red light. But there they are. So yes, it is now armed, as I said they should always be.
And side by side, it's incredible the amount of changes they made, as subtle as they are, but damn.
I don't know if the yellow is that garish in other shots, but I mean, that's startlingly yellow. Here it fits. And I'm wondering why they've put another ring of escape pods in. So they always had escape pods, but they were almost hull-coloured, and you knew what they were, but they didn't stand out. Now they're thicker and browner. But they've also added Enterprise E era escape pods around the bridge, secondary hull, and behind the bridge.
It was a refit. They were improving things. And probably somebody like Rick Sternbach said, well, according to, you need more escape pods for the amount of crew or something. And like I said, after the events of season 1 and what happened to this ship, to get the refit, maybe they're like, this crew's probably incompetent and we don't want anyone to die, so let's just make sure they have enough escape pods, maybe more than they need.
So it definitely gives it more detail, but the fact the shapes are so different to the other escape pods and they stand out so much more, and they're actually more detailed, they've got other sub-details, just an odd choice. And having one literally above the bridge but behind is an odd choice. I guess that's where the bridge crew goes and everyone else goes everywhere else. It's interesting, yeah, it's interesting. And we've also got a bottom view, which really highlights, this is a great full screen. Now you can really see the Aztecing. It's all texture detail, but unlike some of the section, the 31st century ships in Discovery, it's really that's all it has. This just helps to give it that extra bit of pop where it has physical detail as well. So I think it really, that looks so much more real and full on than season 1. I thought it was a great highlight shot.
And I also love the fact that you can see those small phaser strips here. There's 4 of them, and then they got the escape pods between, which is a nice touch. So it doesn't have a full wraparound phaser ring on the bottom, like the Galaxy class does. It's got one on the top. But yeah, and there's even escape pods on the bottom of the secondary hull here, which is nice too, or the engineering hull.
And then one other small detail that I appreciate, although underused, is that if you look at the back of the nacelle and on the saucer near the top, they have got yellow RCS thrusters finally, but only one on each nacelle and one on each other saucer. There should be a few more, but at least they are there. All credit to them in adding stuff that was blatantly missing. Because in season 1 the ship couldn't fire torpedoes and couldn't fire torpedoes and can maneuver. So now it can do all these things, Stuart. Good.
Well, what's going to happen is they're going to be 7 seasons, and each season they're going to make small little changes and improvements till the final season it's going to be photorealistic and it's going to be a live action season. They're going to gradually work their way from animated to live action. That's what's happening.
I think there is no other conclusion to draw. And in fact, if you look at the where they find the phasers, you get a really nice close-up, and I'm sure they knew they were doing these sorts of shots. Highlights the RTS thrusters with small detail and small detail, the blinkies, the fact that it does continue the TNG phase or the TNG Voyager phaser strip segment. It's just, it's so nice.
And there's a really, really close shot of the top of the bridge here where you see like they got 7 escape pods on that center like that.
Yeah, they really like focused on the ship in this. And you can see how much more detail those escape pods are to the normal ones. It's like, why are they just...
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I never noticed before, but yeah, there are 2 different style escape pods here. There's the regular square ones, and then so Enterprise D and Enterprise E style. And the new ones that were added are after the refit, so it makes sense because they're new technology.
And if you go to that great shot where, yes, Ransom Godhead is biting down, it's another shot to show how much more 3D the nacelles look. For whatever reason, they've now added a top back little glowing pod. Very small. It's not in season 1. Just another glow. Adds a bit of depth to the back. And I think they've now got a more leveled layering approach going into the glow. I think it was more flat and more simple, but there's now a bit more depth. So yeah, all these subtle things just give every single element a bit more oomph.
And one of the best shots for me is near the end where they're like, the Cerritos is on its way to, and you got that nice shot of it in warp. It looks really good there. I like the hull looks a little bit darker, and I don't know if that's because they're in warp and they're not near a light source or whatever, but I think it's spot on great. So plus you really get to see the detail in the front of the nacelles or the Bizarre collectors there as well.
Facades pop. And you can also, if you zoom in, which obviously we'll have done in post, you can see the torpedo launcher little things visibly nice in the pods. And again, that bottom detail below the, where I wonder if that, below the bridge on the underside of that saucer, I wonder if that is a quantum launcher or some such. Because it's very standoutish, and it's not glowing like a window, but it's white like a window. But yeah, there you go. The Cerritos refit. We did the research. You didn't have to. Well done, team. Just, chat to us for season 3 as well. We'd love to help.
So guys, did you notice all these changes? Do you care? Let us know in the comments what you think about this, and did the side-by-sides help? I really hope so, because I was really impressed seeing the side-by-side. So again, thank you to Samuel for arranging that. That is awesome. But that's what we do here at Trekyards. We love the ships, we love the tech, and we love looking at the little minutia. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that like button so the algorithm knows you like us and pushes our videos, and make sure that you click notification bell icon to all, which is really important, so you can join our lives where we talk about this stuff interactively with you. So if you want to be part of that, do all of those things.
Which you do. I'm just saying in advance, you do.
Yes.
And of course, please guys, support us on Patreon. That's a great way. And those lives. We legitimately love doing those behind the scenes lives. And we'll look at subtopics throughout the week in our short videos. Come watch those. Super chat all if you can. And just keep tuning in, because we love ships, and I think there's no one else really does this level of depth on these ships. And we want to give the credit to the designers, the people that work behind the scenes, that clearly put all the little thought in, yet kept it looking the same. Freeman's happy, I'm sure.
That's right. So until next time, he's Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley.
And next time you see us, we'll be more detailed.
Wow, what a promise. Let's see what happens. Bye, guys.